Do you know one of the great things about having a podcast is that you always get the chance to have the last word. So this episode is a bit of a roundup of things that have annoyed us over the month, where we felt we wanted to get the last word. And actually, some of them, we just wanted to get them telt.
Exactly. So that's why it's called That's Them Telt.
That's them telt.
It's not necessarily us telling them, but it means that we can get other people who have telt the people that we wanted telt. That's mostly what you're about to see in this episode. I hope that makes sense.
Well, there were certainly people who needed telling, whoever told them.
Oh, yes, there certainly were. There certainly were, yeah.
And make sure you keep watching to the end, because there's a surprising telt right at the end.
Yeah. So here we are. It's the end of October, and we're just going to have a chat about a bit of a roundup about stuff that we've noticed in the news, and we've also got a really good chat with Mary McCabe of Pensioners for Indy. That'll be coming up. But to begin with, we wanted to start off by showing you some of the nice comments we've had, didn't we?
This one we loved. Fiona and Marlene are truly the best interview duo we have. Now, isn't that lovely? Thank you very much, the person who said that. We did appreciate it. Of course, you being Scottish, we did do that self-deprecating thing, going, well, is that a very big pool? How good is that?
I didn't actually. I just thought it was brilliant. But yeah, anyway, it's great when some people do that. It's fantastic. Really enjoy it.
This was from a lady who actually subscribes to us on Coffee, which we'll tell you about that in a minute if you want to do that. Love this podcast. Informative, entertaining, up to date. And the two of you are very inspiring for us more mature women, especially now you've broken into TikTok. Well, that wasn't an easy job, I can tell you. Keep up the brilliant work. Thank you so much. What a lovely, encouraging
It is lovely. It's really lovely. And yes, actually, it's true. Fiona had a work cut out to get me persuaded that we should try TikTok, and I wasn't going to do it. Actually, I just said you have to do it. I'm not having anything to do with it. You just have to do it yourself. I'm not exactly besotted, but I am a bit of a fan now. So
you've got the
actually
hang of it,
it is good for us because we can put short clips from a longer podcast, put it onto TikTok, and then the link's there, and folk can go and listen if they want it. And there is a bit of a different audience on TikTok.
Definitely. Yeah, there's some overlap, but there is
overlap. Yeah, there is a lot of, and there's a lot of indie supporters on it. But hopefully there's some younger ones that maybe we wouldn't reach otherwise. Great.
So there we go. And the coffee thing. Thank you very much to everybody who's bought us the coffee. As you know, we do like a cup of coffee, and it's very much appreciated. There's also if you have given us a one-off donation and you think, I can't be bothered doing that every month, actually you can set up just a wee subscription on Coffee and it can just do automatically. So that's another option.
If it's a one-off one, that's also good.
That's also good. Yes. Thank you. All appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Because I do the spreadsheets.
Marlene does like a spreadsheet.
I do like spreadsheets.
Okay, so we've got just a few little things to cover. One topic that has come up quite a lot over the month and also appeared in about 3 of our last podcasts was the issue of asylum seekers, refugees, and housing. And the thing that sparked off the idea to use this as a topic was this exchange between MP Joanie Reid, who is apparently, is she not the granddaughter of
Jimmy Reid?
Jimmy Reid, yeah.
She's great. Jimmy Reid. I mean, honestly, the man must be telling in his grave. And also, she lives in England. I don't know, maybe she was born in Scotland, but she certainly lives in England. She was kind of brought up by the Labour Party to stand as a Scottish MP. And then she comes out with this stuff, honestly.
Yeah, and it's factually incorrect as well, which we will prove to you in a moment. But just in case you can't read that, her comment was, and I don't know what it was in relation to, but the SNP are taking the biscuit. They chose to turn Glasgow into sanctuary for asylum seekers through their own virtue signalling policies, and now they want the Home Office to bail them out. Same old story, grandstanding about compassion, then crying foul when the bill arrives. Presumably she ran out of letters there to finish her sentence, but what utter nonsense. Yeah. And the person there, Councillor Rory Kelly, had put her in her place. So that's her telt. 2 debates within a month, both called by the Tories, the Scottish Tories in Holyrood, both trying to jump on the Reform UK bandwagon. There were horrible discussions, really nasty stuff. The second of the two, Mary McCabe, opened the debate for the government, and I thought she put it extremely well. Should we just play that for people and see what she said?
Officer, now I can't say that I am pleased to open this debate for the government today. Only 4 weeks ago, the Conservatives brought a similar motion, and that day a number of contributions crossed the line. And it's taken the biscuit today, frankly. So let me start by appealing for care in the language that we use this afternoon. Whatever certain politicians do to characterise the situation, we are talking about people with hopes, people with aspirations, people who have suffered, human beings who should be treated with dignity and respect. Now, let me promptly address what are flatly errors in the Conservative motion. Firstly, they wilfully misuse the terms illegal immigration and asylum seekers, conflating two fundamentally different issues. The term illegal migrant is not only divisive, dehumanising, it's also inaccurate. People are not illegal. Seeking asylum is a right, and in fact, it's the lack of safe routes to do so to the UK which makes people take irregular presentations. I'm not giving you one more second of
to the Chair, Cabinet Secretary.
Secondly, they misunderstand the rules on local connection. So let me explain it to them. The changes made in November 2022, they only prevent a Scottish local authority from referring a homeless household to another Scottish local authority in which they have a local connection. And this was praised as giving homeless households the choice that anybody else would expect. The change did not alter local connection rules for refugee households, and as things stand, there is nothing preventing a Scottish local authority from referring a refugee homeless household back to parts of England and Wales in which they have a local connection. Now, there are pressures on our housing system, Presiding Officer, driven not least by pressures on households in our economy after years of Conservative chaos in Whitehall. The truth is that Mr Findlay's party allowed enormous asylum backlogs to build up, whilst creating a hotels policy which allows people to languish. Now a Labour government is continuing to move through these applications far too quickly and without proper provision for settlement. In particular, I appeal to the UK Labour government to implement proper move-on periods which do not create homeless refugees, and for the process to be properly funded. I want to turn in closing to reflect on what has led us here, to this right-wing nonsense finding itself in our national parliament for the second time in a month, to mistruths in social media read by thousands before we have the chance to correct them, to politicians, journalists, institutions repeating and thereby normalising unfounded suspicion, fear and hatred that should never be normalised. This is all happening to the extent now that what we once knew as bigotry is now defended as free speech. Well, the SNP know what it is, Presiding Officer. We recognise what it is. We will call it what it is. It is prejudice, it is intolerance, Presiding Officer, it is racism. It is all of these things. It is all of these things because it has no basis whatsoever in fact. Conflating crime with migration, as the Conservatives do in this chamber, is simply not factual. Holding whole populations to account for the criminal actions of one individual is patently absurd. Suggesting that the far right are somehow defenders of the rights of women and children is utter nonsense.
But wasn't it good?
Wow, she's good, isn't she? That was just fantastic.
Yeah, he hit so many of those points and just blew them out of the water. And to see Findlay standing there like a tailor's dummy trying to intervene.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm not giving you any more of my time.
Yeah.
Carried on with it, and then someone else, one of the Tory women MSPs, was trying to get in as well. That's just excellent. That's the kind of strength of, you know, directness and strength of communication that I just think we just need to see more of from the SNP. I mean, I'm kind of thinking with respect to independence, but, you know, actually other things as well, because you and I have said, oh God, it's getting to be umpteen times now, isn't it, that we just want them, Scottish Government and the SNP and the Greens as well, to be, you know, a bit more forthright about what they say. Well, that was forthright. That was just brilliant. It was so eloquent and so well informed. Fantastic. Good on her.
Good on her. That point about Glasgow asylum seekers and the local connection has come up in two of our recent podcasts, and I don't think that they put it as, I don't think they explained it as well as Mary just has. In fact, I'm not sure they got it completely right either, just listening to that. We then got CoCab Stewart, who, again, another storming contribution.
I'd like to remind us of a few facts. So, people seeking asylum cannot access local authority housing. The asylum system and its operation is the responsibility of the UK Government. The UK Government has international legal obligations to recognise refugees who are in the UK. The purpose of the UK asylum system is to determine whether someone who is in the UK needs protection in line with those obligations. Only once the UK Government has made a determination to grant asylum do newly recognised refugees have the right to access housing, to work and access other publicly funded support. As the Cabinet Secretary made clear, using the term illegal migrant is not only divisive and dehumanising, it is inaccurate. I will now turn to some of the contributions and reflect on as many as I can. First of all, I would emphatically reject the use of the term assimilation. This has connotations of having to either mask yourself or to mimic in order to fit in, rather than enabling cohesive multicultural communities. Presiding Officer, the days of ethnic minorities with strange names having to change their names in order to anglicise themselves and disguise themselves, the days of young Asian girls and black girls having to bleach their skin in order to fit in with white communities, those should be condemned and put into the history books. So I reject the term assimilation. We also have heard this willingness to tear up the ECHR in order to further demonise an already vulnerable group. So it seems that there are members amongst us who would be willingly throwing the rights away of every single citizen and person in this country in order to further demonise people who are already vulnerable. The EHRC is a fundamental principle of this Scottish Parliament, and any MSP that is worth their salt will resist that derogation in the strongest possible terms. We recognise that the current UK Government inherited a broken asylum system and a backlog in decision-making with large asylum accommodation estate and people stuck in that system, and that reduces their ability to integrate and to be able to work. So this bottleneck in decision-making is a direct result of the Illegal Migration Act, a totally unworkable, unconscionable piece of legislation. It was never supposed to work, Presiding Officer. It was an attempt to control the headlines in an election year. Just as these continued debates in the Scottish Parliament aren't supposed to improve homelessness, they are an attempt to lower the bar of what is considered acceptable rhetoric in the run-up to next year's elections.
Wow.
So that's him, Telt. Brilliant, from two strong, clear women.
Yeah,
Wasn't
really,
that great?
really, really good. An old friend of mine, whose father came over to this country from Germany late 1930s, Jewish background, and the first thing they did was change her surname.
Yeah.
And she has just changed her surname back to what it would have been if it hadn't been changed in the first place. I mean, I kind of went, wow, that's, I think I didn't quite understand the background. And then when she told me a bit more about it, I just realised the kind of emotional flavour that had always been around in the family because of not only doing that, but what it represented and why it had to be done and why it was thought it needed to be done. So, yeah, these two debates that I'm assuming that it was the Tories that put these forward for debate.
Yes, both of them within a month, two within a month.
Yeah, right. So it just struck me when she said these are not being forward in order to do anything to help homelessness and improve the situation homelessness. They're being put forward to change the sense, just to push the sense of the kind of rhetoric that you can use and it be accepted. And that's just really telling remark. I mean, it's dreadful that it has to be said, but it fits in with other things. It fits in with the whole thing about, the way that Farage talks about, the same topics, illegal immigration, all the rest of it. And I mean, I've said in a couple of our podcasts, recently in Glasgow, or it's a month or so back now, but, he made this speech about how awful the situation was in Glasgow, and it just does, it normalizes stuff. It normalizes misinformation, and then it opens a sort of space that the people who want to demonstrate in support of those ideas have. And it's just, I was really, really pleased that she said that just now, because it's something we just need to kind of look out for, because you see what's happening in the United States. And
well, we see what's happening here with reform. I saw a great image earlier, which I think I've shared with you. I haven't got it here, but it was actually Zach Polanski. But there was a picture of him pushing the Overton window back towards the left, and I mean that Overton window is what is acceptable to talk about, and you can see them pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Towards
we should put that one up. I have to admit, I had to go when you showed me that. I had to go and look up Overton window to find out what it was, just to remind myself what it was. But that image, he's pushing it over. But also, did you notice what he's standing on? He's standing on UK banners. So banners that you can just about say things like migrants and all the rest of it. And he's kind of standing on them and pushing the kind of window, the Overton window, further over to the left, so that kind of rhetoric isn't so accepted. Unfortunately, I think it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a while to sort that out.
And it's going to take people like us and people like Mary and people like COCAB saying that's not us. That's not what we want. That's not acceptable. The other one that I caught, I don't often agree with Murdo Fraser. But on this occasion, I thought, oh, he seems to have a point there, which, I had to go and have a lie down as a result of that. But this is him in a committee asking a question to Kate Forbes, and it's quite revealing.
We took evidence last week from the Scottish National Investment Bank, and I asked them about a specific investment they have made in Gresham House. Now, Gresham House are the largest commercial forester in the United Kingdom. They are now, I believe, Scotland's second largest landowner. So they're a very substantial enterprise. They have assets under management worth 8.7 billion, and they have an ambition to grow that to 200 billion by 2030. And Scottish National Investment Bank had given them 50 million of public money to assist with the purchase of an estate in the borders, Todrig and Whiteslade. Why do we need to be spending taxpayers' money supporting such a large organisation to purchase land?
So the temptation for me to comment on this is quite significant, but the Scottish National Investment Bank is operationally independent, and the moment I start to pass comment on the commercial decisions that they take, that's compromised. So there will be investments that they make out of their independent position that members think are a great idea. There are other investments that other members may think are not such a great idea. And the whole point is it's free from political interference, and that is what makes the Scottish National Investment Bank such an impactful investor. And I do not want to compromise that. What we have set out very clearly is the 3 missions that the bank is to focus on. Those are, of course, a just transition to net zero carbon emissions by 2045. I think forestry may have something to do with getting to net zero. Secondly, extending quality of opportunity through improving places, so a place-based approach, and then harnessing innovation to enable our people to flourish by 2040. They are by design not prescriptive, so that, again, the bank knows that there's a parameter within which it operates, but it is free to make investment decisions independently of government.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, the reason I asked the question is we were told by Willie Watt from SNIB that the reason they made the investment was because this was promoting biodiversity and there'd be a higher percentage of non-commercial woodland in that site. Information I've been given since then by our former colleague Andy Whiteman suggests that might not be the case, but perhaps that's something the committee can follow up directly with SNIB.
Oh, I see. That was a good question. I mean, good for him.
Mm.
And I mean, well, kind of read into Kate Forbes's reply and don't think she thinks very much about it as an investment either. But I mean, it was good that obviously she had to be clear about that she wasn't going to make any comments on that. But this is something that's come up again in another of our podcasts recently. When we were talking to Tim Rideout and Ian Stewart about, we were talking to them about what was going to come up in the Scottish Currency Group conference. That was what it was. But we got on to the National Investment Bank, and it's the same thing. It's like Tim was sort of, well, I think we're both saying, but Tim certainly was saying, you know, it's like they've got money and the people in charge of it seem to be pretty well, I don't know, you could say what, the Edinburgh financial elite, the kind of families that, you know, run their own hedge fund setup, and they're doing what they always do, which might make money, which might be commercially successful, but actually, is it what we want Scottish National Investment Bank to be doing? And I mean, why give 50 million? And you know, there are sometimes in Scotland when there are estates that come on the market, and then the local community wants to be able to buy into it. The cost of buying land is rocketed up, and partly it's rocketed up because of things like forestry, because you can, you know, overseas companies can buy in, and then that helps their carbon footprint. So it just seems like just such a missed opportunity. Just finish off that thought about the 50 million, rather than giving it to Gresham House, you know, put it into the fund that for the community buyouts, and let them do something good with the land. I'm just really disappointed with the way that bank's being run.
It just sounds wrong on every level, because this is our land is being sold off so someone can make money on it, because that's what Gresham House are. They want to get a capital return. Yeah. So if they can make money on it, why can't we make money on it? And to sell them our asset so they can make money and give them the money to buy it from us, this is just for Sky Echo, right? It rips my knitting. It really, really does. But a little bit more about Gresham House. They are owned by Searchlight Capital Partners. Searchlight Capital Partners is owned by its founding partners, Eric Zinterhofer, Errol Uzumari, and Oliver Harmon, who are private equity financiers. It's privately owned by them. And also, I think somewhere in there, the extremely ubiquitous Canadian teachers' pension folk who seem to own a lot of our assets must be getting a bloody good pension for Canadian teachers. But yeah, so, you know, you look back at these things, it's not, you know, that money is going straight offshore. So you've got an American private equity financier, a German private equity financier.
And then they're able to kind of pass that on to other companies, private companies, so that those private companies have a stake in a big forest in Scotland, and then they can use that to offset their carbon footprint. And
and there's tax breaks as well.
Get tax breaks, and of course, yeah, we do want to get to net zero, but that's not the best way to do it.
That's them, Telt. Having just dissed the Canadian Teachers Pension Association.
I mean, probably could be worse people to own parts of Scotland, but
possibly.
Anyway.
And if you're a Canadian teacher, I'm sure you work as hard as any other teacher, and good that you're getting a good pension. Just a shame it's coming at our expense. But let us redress the balance a little bit, because we like the Canadians.
Yeah,
Shall we?
Oh, absolutely.
This is the Canadian version of what's going on in America, and you'll love this.
Take care of some foreigners, and that boat's full of them. I'm Trent McClellan, nice agent. You're gonna need to see your phones. Let's see what's in them. Let's go.
Hey.
Let's go. Unlock your phone there for me, please.
Looks like every other phone.
Let's go.
Sure.
Let's go, sir.
Look at that.
Oh my God!
That's my grandbaby.
That's your grandbaby. How
Yes.
old? Okay, now we're doing a selfie. All right, okay. Go this way. We got the buses here. We got a big day lined up for you. Probably go to Peggy's Cove, maybe a lobster boil. So let's go. Where are you guys visiting from?
Atlanta.
Virginia.
Pennsylvania.
Montana.
30 minutes from D.C.
What's DC stand for?
Washington.
This man thinks DC stands for Washington. Yeah, that's a nice backpack, pal. That is really nice. Super nice. Do you have any narcotics on you? Any kind of drugs?
Let me see.
No. If you need some, you just go down right here. There's a great cannabis store down here. Got some really sweet, strong stuff. That's what I'm on right now. So
Okay, I know you're on something.
First thing you got to say is, I love the Toronto Blue Jays. So you are officially an honorary Canadian. Let's get your passport photo. Here we go. No smiling in the photo. You can't smile in a passport photo. Now we're going to mail this to you. How big is your mailbox? We got you a certified nice American card, so you can carry that around. I mean, if you have any difficulty here on the boardwalk, you simply show them that card and you're all taken care of. All right, let's get your hands where I can see them, sir. Let's go. Here's some candy.
Thank you, sir.
There you go, some candy. Candy always makes the day a little bit nicer. Redeem this coupon for one nice hug from a nice agent. Bring it in, bud. Bring it in.
Thank you.
Welcome to Canada.
Nice, isn't that nice?
Would you live in Canada full time, do you think?
That's my goal.
We got one. Yeah, he just admitted to it. All right, well, let's all go for a beaver tail together.
Okay.
You're going to love it. Up here in Canada, we know ice is always cold, but nice never gets old. I'm Trent McClellan, nice agent, teaching foreigners a lesson, that there's still nice people in the world.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's brilliant, isn't it? He's just kind of trolling them. Fantastic. It's like the ones that the Californian government, the Californian governor is doing. He's Newsom. He comes out with stuff like that. It's just so funny. But that's a brilliant one. Good on you, Canadians.
That's them, Telt. We're on Blue Sky, as you know. We do not do Twitter anymore. Blue Sky is much nicer than Twitter. I found this site, which is called Hope for the Planet, I think. And they've just got all these really nice, good news stories. And one in particular, which I liked, was New York City's congestion pricing has reduced air pollution, noise pollution, crime, car crash injuries after just a few months. Commute times are faster, businesses are doing better, public transit ridership is up. The money raised is being used to fund further public transit improvements. Now, isn't that brilliant? When you think of the noise and the pushback when Glasgow tried to implement one, did you not find some positive outcomes from Glasgow?
Yeah, I did, because when you showed me that, I just went and Googled Glasgow low emission zone results, and that was compared to 3 years ago. The air quality in the city centre has got a 34% reduction in nitrogen dioxide. So nitrogen dioxide, that's coming from car exhausts. So that's down by a third. The city's hit its air pollution targets for the first time since the process begun. And actually, this is what's kind of surprised me was penalties. They've collected this is the City Council in Glasgow, has collected over £750,000 in penalties. So £750,000 as of September this year. And the number of violations is coming down. There's still quite a lot, though. Apparently, there's some what they call persistent non-compliant vehicles. So that's just someone who just drives through the zone and doesn't bother, and presumably gets another several, kind of fines. But yeah, I just think that's brilliant. And I mean, people complain, but actually, it's not as if it's all petrol cars that are banned. It's just the older ones, the ones that are definitely kind of, worse in terms of emissions. And most of the buses in Glasgow are electric buses. I mean, not all of them, but most of them are electric ones. And you know what people are like. They'll always complain. And there was some criticism about there being impact on vulnerable groups. So, quote, concerns have been raised that older individuals and retirees are no longer visiting the city centre as often as they did. And I think, oh, come on. I mean, older people, we all have bus passes. We go in for free anyway. We're probably going get on the local train for, £1 odds and nothing on the bus. Plus, if you've got a blue badge, you can register the car you're going to be in for an exemption on it.
Yeah.
Either a one-off one, or if it's your own car, you can get a long-term exemption. So people will always complain.
Yeah, well, it will have saved lives. And okay, it's hard to quantify, but some people will hold out to the very end against any kind of change, whether they think it's a good idea or not. But you just wonder how politically motivated some of these objections are.
That's it exactly. Or there's someone who does have an old car and they are being able to go on, unable to go on. I must say, the time that I do take the car in, which is ours is an electric one, and what gets me is the amount of charging for car parking, because it is really high. But that's part and parcel of it, actually.
Yeah,
so,
well, you've got a public transport system. I know you all moan about it in Glasgow, but I live in the wilds of Ballymonshire. I have a bus every 2 hours, and nothing on a Sunday. So it actually is a really good system. When I come to Glasgow, I'm always just thrilled at how easy it is to get anywhere. That's them, Telt.
So, shall we say a little bit about our conversation? Because we're about to show you our conversation with Mary McCabe. And now, Mary's absolutely stalwart campaigner for independence, and has been for years and years and years. And she's also a stalwart in Glasgow pensioners, Greater Glasgow pensioners for Indy. So the last sort of few months, 5-6 months, something like that, she's organised guests to come to Glasgow Pensioners for India meeting, a guest from each of the independent supporting parties. And we've been there and we've recorded them. If you want to see them, go onto our YouTube channel, you'll find them there, or they're also on Pensioners for India website. So we thought, let's have Mary in and just have a chat about how well she thought they went, or any thoughts that she's had since. So it was good. It was good talking to her, wasn't it?
It was.
Fiona and I have a guest with us. It's Mary McCabe from Greater Glasgow Pensioners for Indy. So if you've watched some of the talks that we've recorded from the Bacchus Bar in Glasgow with Glasgow Pensioners for Indy, you'll know Mary, because she's in all of them. Mary's always sitting next to the guest, throwing in her own comments as well. And we've just been really appreciative of those talks, Mary. And sometimes it's not that easy to get to think, oh, I want someone from the Scottish Greens, but it's not that easy to actually get someone. And so there was Colette Walker, was from ISP. There was Anthony Carroll, Scottish Greens. He's a Glasgow councillor. And then we had Nick Drury from Alba. Kicked it off with Colin Fox, didn't we? Scottish Socialist Party, and then the last one so far, is Ivan McKee from the SNP. So that's all independent supporting parties.
A wee series that I thought I would have. I think of a fresh guest speaker every time, but I was racking my brains there, and suddenly I thought, well, we'll go for all the pro-independence parties, because they are going to be all standing in the list, and some of them are even standing in the constituencies. So yes, we want to hear their way to independence, focusing only on their way to independence. I thought that would be a good plan.
Yeah. So are you pleased at how it turned out?
Yes, yeah, I'm very pleased at how it turned out. And I think quite a few other folk, I haven't had any negative comments. Of course, they could have been trying to be polite. But I certainly had several people saying they thought it was a really good idea having this series of pro-independence parties represented. So you see past the stories they put out in the mainstream media, they weren't all 100% for independence, but they all had their different takes, the different angles, the different priorities, and so we probably got sidetracked quite a bit into their individual concerns, which is a good thing as well, because it gives them a chance to air that and for people to hear them.
Yeah, that's right. And that definitely applied to Nick, didn't it? Nick Drury.
Yes.
And
he came into politics on the single issue campaign to keep the Windford flats up and not let them be demolished. And I think he's probably still a bit involved in that. Certainly that led him into homelessness, the homelessness crisis as being the big issue. And that is what he mainly talked about. And afterwards, he was one of slightly one of my regrets that I hadn't asked him more about Alba, its national policies and their route to independence and so on, because you don't really get a great picture. My picture from Alba comes from the mainstream media. Social media maybe a bit, though I'm not much on that. One or two people I know in Alba who talk about it, but somebody actually speaking about that would have been good.
he does talk about Alba's approach to independence at the beginning. He sort of goes through it, but you're right, it's not the main, it's maybe, I don't know if it's even 10 minutes. I don't know about you, Fiona, but I just thought, God, that's the kind of chap who would be good to have in Holyrood. I mean, he's just so knowledgeable, and he's just kind of like down to earth, and he wants to do things to help people.
As a candidate, I know that Alba are standing on the list and everything, but they've not made an awful lot of progress in the public perception. And in fact, they're their own worst enemies, because they're now fighting among themselves, which you would think all these parties would try to avoid. It's a well-trodden route, but there you go.
Yeah, they've just lost their only elected member as well, haven't they, from
Actually, yeah.
The other one I really enjoyed, who had not come across, was Anthony. I thought he was a very good speaker, and a little bit the same in that there wasn't so much about here's what the Greens policy is on X, Y, Z, and he said a lot about housing as well. Being Glasgow pensioners for Indy, it's natural that would be their focus, but there was quite a lot about housing, but also transport as well, which I think both things are obviously huge issues for.
He's a councillor in my constituency, and I met him a couple of times before. I'd met him. He came to one of my talks that I do on the 1820 Radical Wars. He didn't come to the comfy one, which is in the hub in Glasgow University. He went to the one that's away out in the hills inside the old cemetery, exposed to the weather. He came to that one. Oh yes, I saw mention of him in the mainstream media as a possible contender for the leadership of the Greens. I think he might be eventually a leader of the Greens, but he's still quite young. So he told us all about the structure of the council committees, when they try to work in a collegiate way and everything. And he said, more or less, in Glasgow City Council, it's not too much of a problem. They're able to work across the parties a bit. But the one fly in the ointment, here we go, was Labour, who, he said, still tend to adhere to what we used to call the Bain principle, which Willie Bain, an MP who left many years ago, as he was going, he said, we have a policy never to support anything the SNP promote. They're still at it. Whenever we're trying to be collegiate, it's Labour in a corner sucking their thumb.
Another one I really liked, learnt a lot from listening to actually, was Colette. The challenges that she'd overcome in order to be in the position she's in. You think, she's got to work 5 times as hard as anybody else just to be on the platform. I mean, the one thing with all of them, except possibly Colin, but there was bits in what they said that I thought, oh, I'm not sure, I don't think I agree with that, or I'm not quite sure about that bit. But, again, that just shows you that you can have disagreements on detail whilst all still having the same.
With Colette again, I found there was a wee bit of regret at the end and a lost opportunity, because most of her story was from the heart. It was about herself. She came across as probably the most sincere of all the speakers. She was the one who didn't come across as, I planned to get a political career when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. She got in through campaigning for her son. As a registered blind single parent of a disabled non-verbal son. I mean, she didn't have a battles to create, they were all there for her, and she was completely sincere in everything she did. A lot of hers was her personal story. I mean, what do you do when you do all that? Okay, if you're really, really, really ambitious and want to do that, you might join a political party. She started a political party that wasn't even all set up for her. I mean, that's a challenge in itself. She was a great speaker, very much from the heart. It was only at the end when she put in the wee bit, which was news to me at the time, how she and a couple of other small pro-independence parties were all getting together under this Liberate umbrella to stand as a party in the list and also on the constituency. And I thought, £500 a time, lost deposits and all this. And I wish now that I'd actually asked her a bit more detail in that. I didn't, because I had the one taken out my sales a wee bit. It was news to me. I didn't really know how that works. And we didn't get round to saying it.
Colette, she's another person that I just think... Well, actually, I can understand someone might go, she's a bit naive politically, but actually, she's got ideas and she's got kind of persistence and she's also certainly got integrity. And I just also think that's the kind of person we need.
Of course, we need more people like that. Sincerity. We need sincerity. I go back to when I started as a schoolgirl, putting leaflets through doors and things like this for the SNP, and also knocking on doors later. Well, by that time I was at university, but I was still only about 19, and they sent you out on your own those days. And everybody said it was a wasted vote, and it was a wasted vote. They knew it was a wasted vote. I knew it was a wasted vote. We wouldn't even win our deposits, probably. We certainly wouldn't win any seats, not even at council level. But we kept on going, and look where we are now. So, saying small parties are a wasted vote, they always are at the beginning. But some go that way and some go that way.
Yeah.
Well, Colette had a really interesting point on that, though, didn't she? She said it was giving someone to vote for as an alternative to staying at home. So it's actually encouraging them into the process of democracy that otherwise they wouldn't have been in. So
that's right.
All from the perspective of the party.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
So what are you feeling yourself, Mary, about? Must be something like...
It's less than 200 days.
Wow.
We don't know, of course, what's going to happen. I mean, it seems quite close, May and everything, but, a lot can happen. But my take on it at the moment is I do not overtly support a political party. I'm still a member of the SNP. I never left. And I even went to a couple of meetings, branch meetings, last couple of months or so, because I thought they were going to be talking about these independence things that were coming up in conference. I didn't go to conference. For myself, I think concentrating on the grassroots, but when it comes to actually voting, unless you're living in somewhere like the Borders or near Shetland or somewhere like that, where the SNP is very weak, if you want independence, you're mad to vote SNP, because they lose votes on the list for all the ones they get in the constituency, and you're giving it to a unionist.
I can understand why the SNP are saying SNP vote one, both votes. I mean, of course, no party's going to say, "Oh, hey, vote for someone else."
Exactly.
They're not going to do that. But I really think it's a mistake to then say it's only by having a majority SNP in Holyrood that's the basis for a referendum. I just think that's just shooting themselves in the foot.
Absolutely. I think
you saw me. We haven't talked much about because it was Ivan McCabe who was there for the SNP.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably remember I had a go at him about 3 times,
trying
to get him to kind of say why. And
I remember that. I mean, the tension that was coming from Ivan at that time, and sure enough, when they tried to pin him down on that, so the obvious things, A, not going to get that overall majority, B, if we do, who's going to recognise it, and Westminster and all this, and you can't replicate 2011, you can't, because Westminster are now Wysters, so it's a totally different ballgame. I could understand the party lines, a government minister, of course that's what you're going to get. Again, I had a regret with Ivan McKee, a missed opportunity there. I missed the chance, and we all missed the chance to ask Ivan about what I wanted to ask him about, which was, what did you think of the Salvo thing going through the United Nations? We never mentioned that at all, and I would have liked to have, got his take on that, or have him say something about it. He'd presumably be speaking for the Scottish government, but I would have liked to have asked him about that. I was kicking myself afterwards.
I was kicking myself. I was as well, actually. I didn't want to ask about that particularly, but I did think, God, we've just had a minister from the Scottish government, and he's in charge of public funding. I didn't think to ask him a question about it. It was just...
I know.
So interesting hearing you go through the list of all the people you've interviewed, and you've had something on everyone, and you've gone, I missed a chance here. I could have done this. It just shows you, what it takes to actually be a chair of a meeting and have to react in the instant to perhaps things you didn't anticipate. So it's not as easy as people make it look. I know.
I'm helped with the fact that most of the regular attendees at the at the Pensioners for Indy, people, I know them well, and I know their names and everything, and that helps a bit, because you kind of expect what they're going to say a bit.
I know there's another one coming up this Friday, and that's Graham McCormick, isn't it?
McCormick. We've had him before, actually. We had him when he was going on about his annual ground rent, which I still think is something that should definitely be debated. I actually raised it a few years ago at the conference, and it was passed, but nothing happened. And when asked about that, they said, well, what gets passed at conference, it is SNP policy, but it's not Scottish Government policy, so what's that about? Visions of a smoke-filled room fill the air, so. So anyway, he's not talking about annual ground rent this time. He's talking about the plan to have a provisional government. Now, I only saw a wee tiny reference to that it was coming up as an amendment at the SNP conference. Of course, it got shot down in flames, but
I thought that was brilliant.
I thought that's really interesting. Prepare what you would do if you were an independent country. It's not going to stand up in law, but you prepare it and have it there. So you've got answers of sorts anyway. I mean, okay, it might be different answers once another party gets in or something, but you have to prepare all that, and you have to push against the limits of devolution. It's always better to do it and ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, which will be refused.
Absolutely.
Or let them be the ones who have to answer to refusing things rather than us having to justify why we want them. I did spot that thing about the provisional government, and I thought, I didn't realise that was what had happened in Ireland as well. So there's kind of precedent for it.
Of course. All these countries that broke away from the British Empire, I bet they did that beforehand. It wouldn't all come out of... I mean, what did India do and so on? They wouldn't all just suddenly say, here we are independent, let's start planning something. No, they would...
It's really great chatting to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much for having me.
That was Mary's explaining her experiences as chair of a whole series of talks, and she did very well. It was a really interesting series. So well done, Mary, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, good to have you.
The last thing that we have is, as you know, we do a monthly What's On, and the monthly What's On in October, we had a little subtitle which was "No Tricks, Just Treats." And one of our viewers did point out, it was absolutely right to point out, that this is Scotland. It's Gaithin.
So, yes, point taken. We wouldn't make that mistake again.
You're quite right. And that's us, Telt. And anybody who turns up at my house on the 31st, you better have a joke or a poem or something.
Yeah, we've got the supplies ready. We always get loads of folk, loads of kids coming by.
Well, we do. It depends on the weather, to be honest. If it's raining, we get nobody. They're not very fair weather geysers, in my opinion. But so that's it. We'll be putting this out on the next Tuesday, which is
well, that could be any time.
It could be any time. Yeah, because you don't know when we're recording it.
Well, that will be the 28th of October.
Right. And
because I do know what the date is on the Monday, because I'm doing something particular then, so I know that it's the next week.
Okay. So it is Halloween week, so get out there, get your geysers on, and so we've got just a really, really hectic, busy period after that, and we'll come up with a What's on November soon. We're still not sure what's going to be What's on November, but it's because there's too many things to choose from rather than we don't know. We don't have anything. But and also it's conference, event. And if you're in Alloa between the 31st of October and the 3rd of November, we have a brilliant art exhibition and sale and Yestone's workshop. So come along between 10:30 and 4:30. It's at Resonate Together in Alloa, and everybody's welcome. Just drop in. No tickets needed. No, it's free. Be love to see you. I'll be there the whole time. Marlene will drop in at some point.
I'm going to drop in at some point. Yeah.
So it's the first time we've tried this, and we're hoping it might be an annual event. So if you'd like to support indie artists, independent artists, then that's the place to be.
Good.
So. Thanks
for
listening.
Well, hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to make sure you're following us and subscribe to us, then you get notified every time we put something new out, so you don't miss anything. That would be great. Also, you can click the little bell if you're watching on YouTube.
And sign up for our mailing list. You can do that from the website, and we always send one out at the beginning of each month to tell you what's happening. Last but not least, you can buy us a coffee on coffee.com.